All right, well, let's see how this goes. Welcome to the first episode of No Safety Guys Allowed. This is a podcast that is brought to you by absolutely nobody because who in their right mind would get behind something like this? So, with that, I'm Josh Ockman, and these are simply my ramblings. I'm not affiliated with any company, any institute of higher learning, for damn sure. And if you haven't figured it out yet, I really have no idea what I'm doing. I've been home for some time since the world lost its damn mind. And recently I read a bunch about resilience and thought this might be a good outlet for my rambling. So, I figured if my kids can supplement some random YouTubers college fun by watching videos online, then why the hell not me? So the reason why I'm doing this first episode is mainly to give an overview of why I'm doing this and I guess what I am. Why what makes me what gives me the ability to do this. And so it really started back. I was doing a phone interview with what's now my future boss, and he asked me one of those cheesy interview questions, like tell me what can you do for me or this business, and I was just kind of playing it off the cuff, and so my initial response was, well, let me tell you what I'm not going to be. And I'm not going to be a safety guy, period. And that's really where this whole thing started. So why the hate on safety guys? Or girls, either way. It's regardless of the industry you work in, it's really time to get past this whole safety by enforcement, trying to enforce these behaviors on people or doing it just because a rule says so. There is no crappier reason to institute a process, a rule, or an action just because I said so. We're past that in this stage. So, what our workers don't need is they don't need hall monitors. We have put in administrative system after administrative system, and we keep telling the workers that they're too stupid to do the work that they've been doing for forever. So we have to keep adding all these things on and on and on. Think JSAs, behavior-based safety, some of those things, just to name a few. And at the same time, we demand absolute perfection from our workers. Why? Because all those administrative systems that we put in place have zero room for error. In fact, that there's no way, in a lot of instances, if you make a mistake on one of these administrative systems, where you can recover. And so when the worker makes an error, what happens? Well, here comes the safety guy, to run up and tell them what they did wrong or punish them in even worse case. But you did not have that hazard on your JSA. If you'd have just had that hazard, then you would have mitigated it and this incident wouldn't have happened. Spoken from somebody who's likely never done the job before. So we've tied our workers' hands. They're damned if they do, damned if they don't. So what the hell are they supposed to do? And that's what we want to talk about. So a little aside, there's a great YouTube series called Refined by Boyd Media. It's flipping hilarious. There's a little bit of language, but that just makes it real. And I was watching it one day, and they had early on, and they introduced the character Pignose, and I've got him circled on the screen here. What better way to represent the stereotypical safety guy? And it just hit the nail on the head, rather. But it really made me think about, this is what's wrong. This is how we work and how we've hung our hats on the proper way of doing our jobs, and it couldn't be further from the truth. And then again, these things have a way of snowballing, and it got me to thinking about a brilliant, very well educated safety guy who I had worked with in the past, and over the years he got a nickname, and people called him Speed Bump, and because everything he did was in an attempt to slow down or to completely stop the work. Because of varying levels from very minor to, I'll give him credit, in some ways major, safety issues. But what frustrates the absolute hell out of me looking back is, he would tell you what you were doing wrong, and in his mind, his job was done. He'd walk away, he'd pat himself on the back, rah rah sis boom bah, I'm the greatest of all time. And that's just such a crappy way of doing business. It's bullshit. The safety guy is no different than the welder. We're not special. If the welder doesn't have his or her right PPE on, well, here's a crazy ass idea. How about go get the right thing for them, rather than write them up and then walk away like you did your job? Or even better, go have a conversation with them. Try to understand the full context of the situation that you're witnessing. You might not have a clue of what's actually going on. And don't even mention the damn PPE. We as safety professionals need to stop focusing on the people. I know that sounds counterintuitive, but our job really isn't about the people. It's 2020. Billy Bob knows to wear a damn hard hat. Okay, he knows to put on safety glasses. We need to quit wasting our time on these minor things and start looking at the bigger picture, the whole system, and what design flaws are in the system. Is it more difficult to find those? Hell yeah. But that's our job. That's our job. Looking for those, again, the design flaws. Wondering about the atmospheric readings and what it affects and how it affects the work going on. Truly understanding the system, the process, and where we should be installing locks and tags and such when we want to isolate things. That's the shit that's going to kill Billy. If Billy doesn't wear a hard hat while laying on the ground welding, he ain't going to die. But focusing on Billy and his damn hard hat has given us all a bad name. And so again, this got me thinking, and everybody's probably got this question asked to them by their family before, when they pull their heads out of their iPads. But Daddy, what do you do? What do you do for a living? Not that they're really interested. And for a long time, I really struggled to explain this to my kids, or to anybody really. But not long ago, I had this epiphany into organizational and human performance, and it really simplified what I get paid to do. And at the end of the day, Daddy's job is to help the workers work, to do their job, until the level of risk reaches a point where the juice isn't worth the squeeze for them or the corporation they work for. Yeah, It's not the greatest answer, but damn, it's the truth. If we wanted to be 100% safe, we wouldn't go to work. We wouldn't do anything. So we, as safety professionals, help our organizations and the workers manage risk. It's not really that complicated. We accept a certain level of risk at everything we do. So it really wasn't until I started listening to this cat, and I know, right? Handsome devil. Man, this will probably be the last time that I put somebody on the podcast, a picture or a live person on the podcast who's uglier than me. That's not a very high bar. But the dude is brilliant. Todd Conklin really opened my eyes to the world of human and organizational performance, organizational performance, whatever way you want to spin it. What he does not bring to the table in his eyewear selections, he brings in his gray matter. Like I said, the dude is brilliant. So, quick plug for his podcast. He does his pre-accident investigation podcast. It's great. He brings on all kind of guests, and he really breaks human performance down in various industries and topics, and it's really cool. So, but the dude is legit brilliant. And if you look at his track record, so he takes human performance from the Department of Energy's guide. I know it's the government, but he makes it real. And so the dude took this governmental process and incorporated it at the Los Alamos National Laboratory. So again, this is where the vibranium and adamantium and all those crazy unobtainium and all those crazy things are housed. So again, give Todd a shot. He's much more eloquent than me. Again, not saying much, but I'll go ahead and I'll link his podcast, and I'll link the Department of Energy's Human Performance Manuals, Volume 1 and Volume 2 to this video. It's government reading. So, but why would the government be ahead of private industry on something like this? Usually it's kind of the other way around in many instances. So there's a long-winded definition in the manual of human performance. So I put a snippet of it right here. It's the simplest, in its simplest form. Human performance is a series of behaviors carried out to accomplish specific tasks. And it goes on to talk about behaviors and all these things. But at the end of the day, we're trying to get a job done. So if I had to put it in my simple terms, it comes down to giving the human, the worker, enough rope so that the defecation never hits the rotating wind device. Crude? Yeah, a little bit. But, what it doesn't say is that the defecation may get on the floor. It may get on the walls. You may get some on your coworker. But it never hits the fan. And that's what we haven't done in the past. We've tried to keep it off of everything. And in some ways, we just can't do that. So, maybe a little more eloquently, but our goal is to put enough critical safeguards, critical protections, whatever you want to call it, around the worker so that when, not if, but when they make a mistake, it's not catastrophic. The workers are going to make mistakes. I make mistakes. I made 65 of them since I started this video. But none of them were catastrophic. And that's our life mission, to prevent those. So if you think about, again, going back to what qualifies the government to be experts in this, start with the military. So if you were to start a private company, and this company would be responsible for human lives around the globe, they would be entrusted to maintain, operate billions and billions of dollars of equipment, and also have equipment that could render the world obsolete with the bombs and such. So if that's your business model, would you go out and hire a bunch of 18 to 20 something year olds? Oh yeah, and you're going to replace 75% of those people every 4 years. So that stock, in my opinion, would look a lot like Enron's at the end. I don't think anybody would support that kind of business model. But yet, that's exactly what the military does. And damn it, they do it very successfully. So, with all the respect to our men and women in the armed forces, why aren't nuclear subs and, not blowing up accidentally or starting World War III every other day? It's a big part of it is the use of human performance in those governmental departments. There's so many hurdles that they put into place, whether mechanical, engineered, and yeah, there are some administrative ones, to release a missile that today it is damn near impossible to do it accidentally. Has it happened in the past? Yeah, sure. And we'll talk about some of those in future episodes. But statistically, their track record's pretty damn good. I don't think anybody would argue with that. So then what happens? So honorably discharged out of the military, and where do I go get a job? Well, for many military pilots, they go into commercial aviation. And for somebody who's not a huge fan of flying, I do sleep a heck of a lot better knowing that the likelihood that those folks in the cockpit are ex-military actually relieves me somewhat. So, but think about the golden age of commercial flights, with the cigarettes and the business suits and dresses and champagne everywhere. So formal. And, oh, by the way, the crashes. So if you look at the statistics on the screen, this is the number of commercial aviation fatalities by kilometer flown. These numbers are astounding. So look at the change that happened since the 70s. It really is amazing, statistically. Right? I understand these are lives and incidents, but sheer numbers, the drop is amazing. So think about those numbers plus the amount of flights that have increased since the 70s. So what was the trigger that changed here? What made commercial aviation change? Well, so if you look at 1970, there was 112 crashes that were attributed to pilot error as the sole cause of those crashes. So the conclusion's easy, right? And it's easy to blame dead pilots. They can't argue back with you. But so if you're saying the human's the problem, what do you do with the human? Well, you get better humans. right? You go out and you get you some better damn pilots. You train them. Train them some more. Or you replace them. And this happens again and again and again. But you could see from the crash statistics that we still keep having crashes. So it gets to the point where commercial aviation's had enough. They put their hands up and it's time to quit trying to make the pilot perfect. And it still rings true today. Today's pilots are far from perfect. Yes, pilot error in crashes still happens today, but it's a fraction of what they were back in the 70s. Though there are far more planes up in the sky today than what there were then. And, so why aren't 747s falling out of the sky? What commercial aviation did was they demanded that the aircraft be equipped with enough protections, so not if, but when the pilot makes a mistake, in 99% of those times, it doesn't matter.